Hello viewers, my name is Adam.
I'm Aaron.
This is Seeking Me Productions. Bring you another movie review.
So we got to go ahead and watch the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is the second film in Phase 5 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Mm-hmm.
And to say that this phase of this franchise it started with a very rocky start is an understatement. For this film in particular, it had to come out after Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which was supposed to be the big starter of this new phase.
But let's be honest, the only thing that movie really had going for it was Kang.
And now even the actor Jonathan Majors, who plays Kang, who was supposed to be the new big bad of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the multiverse saga,
dealing with some particular issues at the moment. There's some rocky roads left to go on that front.
Yes, and for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 in particular, James Gunn, who has directed all three films now, he was coming off the back of he was previously fired before actually coming back on to direct this movie because of his own controversies. And on his way out of doing this movie, he is about to set off on a new adventure, being the Kevin Feige, so to speak, to the rival company of DC.
Let's put a pin on that right there and there. Let's not even call him Kevin Feige yet, because as we've previously known and as we're seeing, that's some really major shoes to fill, and no company, no studio has yet been able to crack that nut, to be able to understand what it truly means to be the Kevin Feige of a franchise. But how does this latest entry in their saga, holds?
Guardians Volume 3, if you have not watched the previous two movies of Guardians Volumes 1 and 2,
including with the
Infinity War and an Endgame, and to a lesser extent, but still some revelation occurred, the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, you will not understand a lot of the emotional dealings that are going on in this movie.
That's true, because to be honest with you, it picks up really... Some time has definitely passed. Right now, the Guardians are,
They settled
down in nowhere, the giant space station, which is actually the
head of a Celestial.
Yeah,
from the first movie.
Peter Quill, Star-Lord, is currently in a muck right now. He's dealing with the losses that he's had, and all the crazy things has been hitting him and his team since everything's really began. But this particular film is unique in its story structure, because in this particular outing, this time around, the main focus is centered on Rocket Raccoon.
Now, Rocket Raccoon, when we discuss more about his character, I think it's safe to say that he has been the silent protagonist throughout this entire run of the Guardians saga.
That's true.
And now, from all that has transpired from the previous installments, everything comes to a head that has been hinting at this movie and basically his story.
A new threat has come to exact vengeance upon them, and specifically to attack Rocket in the form of Adam Warlock,
who is the soul creation of the so-called perfect being led by Akasha, who is in turn was hired by the big bad of this movie, the High Evolutionary, to bring Rocket back for his own purpose of trying to himself is always seeking to create the perfect being.
That in and of itself is some really interesting ground to tread, because when looking back at Rocket Raccoon and when he was introduced, you know that he has this huge chip on his shoulder, and now we can finally understand and peel back the layers as to how that really developed. Because if you're following around, you understand that he wasn't originally not just his orders. He wasn't just some spacefaring mechanic / super cool bounty hunter. No, he was like most other raccoons on Earth, just a regular animal. But unfortunately, due to the High Evolutionary's involvement, really put him through the ringers, and now you see where Rocky really becomes.
James Gunn, he is most for his entire career, he mainly did mostly lighthearted or very out there or to the point of being exploitive, exploitive to, in some regards, sometimes inappropriate type of content.
And to be honest with you, that's still here too in this volume, but that is not necessarily the focus this time around. No, this is actually pretty much one of the most heart-wrenching aspects of storytelling that I feel as though he's ever done.
It's the most emotional film he's basically ever done too. Fair Warning, the movie does dive to a lot of animal abuse
and cruelty.
And cruelty to the point that as much as a PG-13 Disney film will allow,
exactly,
but it will still get you if you at least have some form of empathy.
Look, trust me, I didn't really think I was ever going to come to this point. There was definitely a specific aspect in this film which really got to me, and even I found myself tearing up just a bit, just because it is that harsh.
But there is some humor to still go around because that is a James Gunn specialty. Not to say that despite its very high emotional moments, there are some times in this movie where it does, it can be a bit too exploitive with the emotions.
Yeah, i.e. towards the end of this film, you'll know it when you see it because, unfortunately enough, I feel they've done this before in other Marvel entries, specifically not too long ago with Thor,
Love and
Thunder.
It's just
like, there's certain things that you just didn't have to do, especially when you already got the concept of what you was already talking about earlier on in the story.
The most part is emotional. It still kept it on a decent pace to the point that the long runtime doesn't even matter.
No, you really do. It really doesn't. It's like start for films. You're engaged with how they're really trying to unfold everything before you.
But let's talk about the characters because these are the heart of the movie. Star-Lord Peter Quill, played by Chris Pratt, has been a leading man ever since first installment. He is still a very commanding presence.
He's very charismatic. You really do vibe with this dude, and you understand why there's so many people drawn around him and how he's actually able to lead a group.
Very much the people person. Star-Lord, he's basically the head man on campus. It's nowhere.
That's so true.
The thing is, he is down in his emotions and his feelings because, throughout his life, he's been losing people. Like everybody in the Guardians group, there are a bunch of broken characters.
And that really centers around the really heart of this film is that you're able to find a family no matter where you're at or who you're with. Drax, being played by Dave Bautista. When he was first introduced, he was just this hulking mass of anger and frustration. But then you really pulled back, and he became very much a very comedic and joyful character. But then you also see the elements of of who he truly is at the center of his being, which is also brought out towards parts of this film as truly being a centerpiece for people to gravitate to.
And with the help of Mantis, if you have one of the big revelations in the film that's said earlier on is from Volume 2 when she was introduced, she's identified as Peter Quill's sister due to his father. But her character mainly grown in the holiday special.
Yeah.
Came to her own and is even more explored throughout in this film. Very much finding her being very much the character in her own right.
From her, you get Groot, who's basically Rocket Raccoon's right-hand man.
We have seen a very many stages of Groot.
Exactly.
We've seen adult Groot from the first film, then baby Groot, teen Groot, and I guess young adult Groot in this movie.
And he's just he's an ever evolving character that services certain concept of what the world, the story, and the universe demands of him.
I feel as though most of all these characters, Groot is the character that we saw the most as far as seeing what he's capable of throughout the various stages of puberty.
Exactly.
But I still feel there's still so much room for him to grow, especially with some of the flashes of growth that we see even in this film.
Moving from him, you have
Gamora.
Gamora. Let's put it this way. in my opinion, and not just my opinion, it's actually other individuals has also said it as well. When it comes to female characters, I feel as though this might still be a weak spot for James Gunn. But I will say that with Gamora, you do start to see elements of what he was trying to develop with this character.
Well, it's more like elements of what her character could have been if
Exactly.
they did more of a comics accurate approach with her.
Exactly.
But the thing is,
it's like almost on one side it's like almost a little bit too little too late, and then on the other hand it's like, well, what we're going to do with it now.
But a character that who is on the same wavelength as Gamora, but could have who was first probably robbed of her moment in Endgame, but is slowly being developed as a completely different direction that's actually much more favorable as far as characterizations go with Nebula.
Yeah, Nebula is really cool, and I mean, I liked her when she was first, introduced, and then I actually grew to even love her even more so throughout her each time she was brought back.
Karen Gillian, who plays that Nebula, she has shown a vast array of emotions for a character who is,
for all intents and purposes, should be a cold-hearted, piece of metal, but that's
a machine.
Yeah, a machine. I'm like, no, she is. You very much see the heart, the ghost in the machine,
and it's very helpful that she is a standout comedic force in this film.
Yes,
highlight.
It's almost shocking just how funny she is,
and a character who she shared very much so in a lot of the grieving process along from the characters, especially after Endgame, is Rocket, who is of course the centerpiece of this film. Rocket, if you haven't noticed, is portrayed by two actors.
Yep.
One is voiced by Bradley Cooper and actually motion captured by Sean Gunn,
who also plays yet another character in this film.
But yeah, these two dual performances to create such a small but impactful force that is Rocket Raccoon has shown a vast array of emotion throughout all these installments. And what really brought to the forefront for this film is really showing highlighting just how much of the heart Rocket Raccoon is through this group in particular.
But of course, no film is exactly as good or no group of heroes is as good as the villain that is introduced. And talking about the High Evolutionary, wow, yeah, Marvel does it again. At least with a very interesting take on a character, and definitely is brought beautifully brought to life by the actions of an outstanding actor.
Chukwudi Iwuji is an actor who James Gunn brought in after his work on Peacemaker,
and he was phenomenal in that show. And please watch Peacemaker.
Yeah. That's from DC Project by you. But this actor highlighted, able to redefine a comic books character who's probably could have just been another one-off, a hollow shell of a villain.
Honestly, it could have ended up being yet another Ronin.
Who thankfully has a lot of expressive behavior and passion that is shown through his goal as a character, but also how he what motivates this character as well. His
callousness, his unsympathetic approach to the individuals that he involves himself with, and specifically with that of Rocket Raccoon and the other unfortunate party members of his original family friend unit. Wow, you really love to hate this guy.
Yeah, the High Evolutionary is Marvel's most despicable villain up to date.
Yeah.
Something that's unfortunately not can be said much about, at least in our opinion, about Adam Warlock, played by Will Poulter.
Yeah, I was really interested and excited to see what they was going to do with this character, but then
I'm not surprised at how they decided to roll about it.
Exactly.
James Gunn.
Exactly. You're right.
There are elements of the character, how they decide to portray it. It's
there
hard from the comic books as well. But the thing is, Adam Warlock as a character in concept by itself, it is a difficult person to portray in any type of outside media. Let's discuss about the production because James Gunn. There's one thing he has been like a showrunner, like a showstopper force when it comes to an MCU production at least.
Yep.
Balanced with great comedic heart, but we were also able to do very big in scope set pieces.
Yeah.
The Guardians of the Galaxy films, I will say that as far as action is concerned, a lot of times there are like there's always been like dashes of good like
there's dashes of
action
brilliance.
pieces. But the thing is, because of the mere fact how he's able to how he constructs his films, there's a lack of flow that usually is present because it's too big cutting back to multiple different characters, but also different tones within the same sequence.
And also because he doesn't necessarily brings out the full potential of every character he's utilizing, i.e. Gamora, i.e. Mantis, and other individuals as it is. You gotta be, if you're gonna use a character, you're gonna have them in your story and your production. Use them to the fullest extent, or don't use them at all.
Like it wasn't until this movie in which James Gunn was able to deliver a standout action set piece that he can call to his own, and the Guardians in these Guardians films, which is in contrast to what he was able to deliver in the Suicide Squad.
Which will make you wonder, is it truly the constraints that he's given because of this being a Disney Marvel production that hampers him from really bringing out the full potential out of the Guardians group? Or is it just his inability to write certain characters in a way that necessarily means that they would actually shine on their own?
One thing that has been mainly consistent throughout the Guardians films is the music use.
Yeah, always a banger.
An awesome mix of various different song pieces from different decades has always been used as a storytelling device in of its own right.
Yep.
As they express the character's emotions, but also what is going to convey in the moment.
It's Jukebox the movie. Has always been Jukebox the movie. So,
which is like. He is able to bring, like, the music supervisor of the films, they've always been, like, a knockout when it came to the soundtrack.
Exactly.
But as far as the original score is concerned, it's kind of disappointing how the Guardians films have a main theme that they had introduced since the first movie.
But that's something I feel as though it's an issue that's actually in almost all Marvel content. That they never really utilize their unique scores for their characters as often as they should. But as it is, for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3...
we'll say that this is a good movie.
Exactly. But that's it. That's our review for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. As always, if you like this, please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell down there at the bottom for notifications. If you want to hear more for this, did you go out and watch Volume 3? How did you like it? Or are you even a Guardians fan? And how you feel about Gunn's new take in the DC Cinematic Universe? Are you as worried as we are? Or
Let's discuss. Also, look at our social media outlets of Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for content we don't necessarily post on this channel.
Why? Because there's only so many hours left in the day and not enough time to put everything out.
Yeah, my name is Adam.
And I'm Aaron.
This has been the Seeking Me Productions.
See you later.